Those in favor, please say aye. Those not in favor, please say no. The ayes have it. Thank you very much, honorable members. The agenda has already been circulated. Can an honorable member please move that the agenda circulated be adopted? Agenda is circulated. Yes. Thank you. It has been moved and seconded that the agenda circulated be adopted and is hereby adopted. Thank you very much. So we move straight as per the agenda and go straight to agenda item number 2, which is the continuation of the consultations on the government COVID-19 response. That is the audit report. It appears as if we don't have everybody here, but for record purposes, can we introduce ourselves once more so that we really know who is present and who is not present? Thank you. Let's start with the honorable members. Yes. And the attendance register will go around as well. Thank you.
Honorable 𝐏𝐲 Majority Leader, Member of FPAP.
Assalamu alaikum. 𝐼𝐲𝐴 Member of Procurement, Member of Committee.
Good afternoon, Honorable 𝐼𝐲𝐴 𝐏𝐮𝐛𥥢𝐢𝐜 from Policarol and a member of the committee.
Good afternoon, Honorable Sambajano, Member of the Minority Leader and Member of the committee.
Honorable 𝐼𝐲𝐴
Good afternoon, Muhammad Accountant General. Good afternoon, Salam Ndamba, Foreign Secretary.
Good afternoon, Abdullah Jaro, Foreign Secretary, Ministry of Finance.
Good afternoon, Mahmoud Baikaba, Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Environment, Climate Change and Natural Resources.
Good afternoon, the Governor, Central Bank of India.
Good afternoon, I'm Abdullah Tambezu, the Managing Director of the Social Security and Housing Finance Corporation.
Good afternoon, honorable members. I am Salum Mala, Director of the Gambia Public Procurement.
Good afternoon, Samba J.B. Tamburas, Director of Compliance and Procurement Practices.
Good afternoon, I am 𝐼𝐲𝐴, Director of Policy and Operations, the Gambia Public Procurement Authority. Good afternoon, I'm 𝐼𝐲𝐴, Director of the National Authority.
Good afternoon, I am Karamba Ture, Legal Journal.
Good afternoon, Dr. Tommy, Subject Matter Specialist.
Thank you. You have there's one there. Okay, very well. Go ahead. Yes.
Good afternoon, I am Executive Director for National Disaster Management.
Good afternoon,
Good afternoon, I'm Pam Traore, Deputy Permanent Secretary, Minister of Trade.
And I'm Hassan Bey, Deputy Permanent Secretary, Minister of Trade.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Sidi Mukhtar Haidara, Senior Program Clerk, Minister of Interior.
Good afternoon, Mustafa, Assistant General.
Mustafa Bide, Director of Health Services.
I'm from Chabaiseka, Deputy Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Health.
Good afternoon, Babanin Savali, Director of National Pharmaceutical Services.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Mariam Bedri, Chairperson of FPAC. Thank you once again. Welcome to this consultation of the heads of the various government institutions and FPAC. These are the audit report that was prepared by the Office of the Auditor General and presented to FPAC. For the analysis. Now, ladies and gentlemen, sometime back we sent out notice, or notices were sent out from senior officials to the president and appeared for FPAC. But we had two or three meetings, am I right? And some senior officials were not present, and I think there was one of them. I saw a letter explaining the reasons why he did not appear. And I think, if my memory serves me right, the clerk had insisted that he should attend. Now that is why I said the attendance issue. I cannot recall whether he did appear the last time. But I have from my records Mr. 𝐷𝐼𝐧𝐼𝐻, Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Environment. At the time, he was the Permanent Secretary Trade, Agriculture. Thank you for that. Now, Mr. Gaban, can you explain to this committee why your absence to appear before the committee? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. First of all, I want to apologize for my absence.
Is your mic?
The reason being, I was called on Monday. This was the day when my younger brother and cousin had a motorcycle accident, and my cousin died, and my younger brother was in emergency. So that was the period I received a call, and then the following day when I went to work, Tuesday, I found the letter. The morning was to the for this particular exercise. And that same day again, I had two funerals. That was cousin and cousin dad was by my parents. So within the span of 3 years, I lost three people who were close to me, and a younger brother who was in that was my reason. And I make sure I endeavor to make sure. But once again, I want to extend my profound apologies. I've been working with this August Assembly for quite a while. I was senior government official, and I have never not answered the call for duties when I asked to. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gaban. Correct me if I am wrong. Did you talk to the clerk, Mr. Sisi? Did Mr. Sisi call you on the phone to tell you that there was a meeting that you were required to be present before FPAC on that particular date?
No, it was not Mr. Caesar himself who called me. Somebody else called me.
From the office of the clerk?
Exactly, from the office of the clerk. That's what I'm saying. So that Monday, that was when I was attending to two incidents, the funeral as well as the accident. My younger brother was in emergency.
honorable members have heard you, and we will take a decision on that. Now, Mr. Hassan Jalo, trade. Yes, is it?
Yes, sir.
Where? Okay. It's the same question. Can you explain your absence? Why did you not appear before FPAC?
Well, on the Tuesday of the meeting itself, I didn't come to the office, so I didn't know about it at all for the next day. So that's why, and I didn't know that it was a process. So that's why I told you sorry that I knew when I came up with the room. But I saw the letter.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Again, your decision will be taken by FPAC. We have heard your responses, but for the benefit of everybody, I want the Vice Chair to address this issue of appearing in all committees at the National Assembly, especially FPAC. Vice, please. Let's be very clear.
These are two instances where officials call and they don't turn up. We dealt with it this morning with the Vice President and myself. And two ministers were to come, plus some parliament secretaries. I think the important thing that this was realized by people in this country, particularly the administration, generally, is that this is the most important institution in the country. And when you have an engagement with Parliament, it takes precedence over everything, even the President himself. If the President wants to go somewhere and Parliament requires him to come here, he has to come. Yes, I understand what you have said, but in normal circumstances, I know you are busy, but you should have sent message to explain why you were not coming. That would have eased the situation without no communication at all. I think how many meetings have you had since then? Two. And we had nothing from you. And when you went to the office and you found that you should have reacted to the crowd, at least, and that was not done. And I think the same thing goes for all of you. So I think we can take measures in such circumstances. And we have no gives us authority to do it. Because if I fail to come to Parliament 3 times without taking permission from her, Parliament has the right to dismiss me. I don't know whether you know that. And that's how historically P.S. was sent out of Parliament, because he refused to attend Parliament 3 times and he was dismissed. The same thing applies to everybody. So this institution must be respected, because nothing can happen in this country without it. So if you have a business with us and there is something that is, in fact, well, death, sickness, things like that can prevent somebody from coming. But apart from that, there is nothing that should prevent anybody from coming to Parliament. You have to explain, you have to come either physically to give reason why you cannot be here, or you send a message. Because otherwise, we'll accuse you of contempt of the committee. This is what we call contempt of the committee, and it is serious in our law anyway. I don't know whether you know it. I've been emphasizing it all the time that if you have an engagement with us, including the Vice President, once of all we had a meeting here with the Vice President, and it was her bill. She failed to come. And she waited until late, when we had already decided to go away with her bill. She appeared. And we sent her out. He said we are not going to meet her. So we see that's how serious it is. So I think from now on we should begin to understand the essence of coming here whenever you are required. That's why I made emphasis the other day that if we are not witch hunting anybody, we are not interested in policing anybody anyway. Nobody has interest to police anybody here. But we have interest in scrutinizing the work that we are doing. That is our job. That's why you voted for us to do. And if you fail to do that, you come back again and say we are not doing our job. But we cannot do scrutiny without you. And you have to provide us the means to do that scrutiny to your satisfaction. But you are not helping. I think we should take things more seriously. And so that Parliament will function efficiently and adequately. Madam Chair, I think this is what I have to say. And what you have said, accept my sympathy. And but I want you to note that next time when you find yourself in that situation, I don't pray that you do, but if you do, please try and make communication to the clerk so that everything will be understood and you will have no problem. Any other member has to do
I think equally. Okay, let me hear you. But I just wanted him to address this issue. Unless you want to add something to it, but please, very brief. Otherwise, everybody will want to add something.
Let me end up by saying this.
Sorry, yes.
The decision we have taken, I tell you, if you had failed to come today, you would have sent the police to come and arrest you. You have that power. No, it's serious. You have power to send the police to come and bring you here. It's like a high court.
Yeah, because we have the powers of a high court. It's clearly stated therein. So let's all bear that in mind. Yes, Honorable Njai.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think also, in as much as these meetings are important, we are also all human beings. And I think where Honorable Ghana finished, that's where we should have started, by at least offering our condolences. Since he said that he lost a brother, I think that was where we should have started. In as much as it's very important for them to attend, there are certain times we cannot attend beyond our control. For example, even us at times, in as much as it's important, but to lose somebody, a brother for that matter, I think we can be a bit more lenient than we are. I mean, I'm not saying that we should force, but yes, it's something that at least we should sympathize with, rather than the way we are treating this. Because like we said, they must come. But then again, he just explained that he lost a brother, another one an emergency. So I think the matter should have stopped there. That is my thought anyway.
Thank you very much. I am not against any genuine excuses, but what I think the committee should also take into consideration is that we are dealing with an institution. If for some reason somebody who is responsible at the apex cannot come, there is always delegated responsibilities, and we will come to explain and we will understand. Thank you very much. But I don't want to drag this further. We'll take a decision. It's an internal matter that we can take, whether to request for or demand an apology or whatever. But it's a decision to be taken by the committee. Thank you very much. At the commencement, I think it was on Monday or Tuesday when we first met, we highlighted the issues dealing with the audit report. And we started our consultation, but we could not make much progress. So we have decided to ask for time. We've just been, a document has just been circulated. It's not paper, it's about maybe 10 or 12 page document. Appears to be what is called a status update to the COVID-19 audit report to FPAT. We don't have time to go through it, and I don't even think that we want to go through it now. We are going to continue with our exercise based on the audit report that the governor of the central bank, then the PS, had confirmed to us that we had received 2 months before it was presented to Parliament. Am I right, Mr. Governor? So I think there was ample time to have gone through it, and whatever queries should have been directed to the Auditor General for it to be incorporated. So as far as FPAC is concerned, this is, as of now, the final audit report that we are dealing with. So we are going to continue with it.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, we are asking questions on it.
Can I ask a question about this?
You want to ask a question?
Well, it appears to me that this is what the auditors wanted you to give them, and they didn't get. So this is not meant for us, it should go to the audit.
No, that's why I said we are not going to use it.
It's not the need accessibility before this. No, don't go back. Just for example, we see the next
So don't hold it for anybody.
Please, there. Go to the next. They're following us up. We are asking the questions now. This will be the answer.
Mr. Governor, please, can you allow us to put our house in order? Let's try to sort ourselves. The questions will be directed to you. You will have adequate time to respond. Yes?
Well, I was saying that, well, if I'm sure some of the matters dealt with here are the matters that were raised by the auditor. They wanted this from them, they couldn't get. Now they are providing it. So it is meant for the auditor, not for us. That's what I'm saying.
Well, it's their response. We will put our questions, let them respond. If they want to provide additional information to the auditors, then I think that is in order for them to do. But as I said earlier on, as far as FPAC is concerned, we are going by this. They had ample time and opportunity to have responded to this, which they failed to do up to the last minute. So please, can we proceed? Okay. Yes,
Madam Chair, this is just meant to guide you in the discussion. So he is going to be reading from it when you ask questions. That's why we gave it to you, just to be able to follow.
Very well, we have it. We have received it.
Yes.
We have taken it, but that's notwithstanding, we are not going to deviate from our procedure.
That is not the purpose.
Yes, good.
It's just so that
it's a guide. We will look at it.
Reading,
we don't have the expertise, Mr. Governor, to deal with it. It is for the auditors. So please, can we proceed? Honorable members, can you ask your questions? Please, not based on what has been circulated. Let's go by our own questionnaire. Can you start with 7.11? On page 32. Honorable members, you may ask. Pardon? Or you passed them?
It was 7.2.
Was it addressed? You see,
It was not addressed.
it was not addressed. It was not addressed.
The answer was not.
It was not addressed. So that is why we said we will go by the procedure that we have agreed we will adopt. So please, on page 32, any honorable member who wants to start? Honorable Mo, you raised the hand. Thank you.
Because the battery is down.
If you like, I can start with that one. You want to
You want to start?
Yeah.
You might.
Yeah. Okay. Good afternoon, Honorable Chair, and everybody that is present today. On page 32 of the report itself, it is saying that there was no needs assessment done. and that is specifically for the food procurement. And from the interview done by the auditor, the Permanent Secretary, Minister of Finance, on the Gambia Radio and Television Service Good Morning Gambia show, dated 27th April, he mentioned that a needs assessment was conducted for the procurement of food aid items. So they've made several requests, but that was not actually provided. Now, when you look at the management response, it says, we noted your observation on the assessment report and will gladly provide your team with the report. Reports to be provided. And the responsible party was the Permanent Secretary, Minister of Finance, and the Director of Development Planning. So they said it was done. Now, what the auditors actually are saying here, up to the time of finalizing this report, that assessment report was never submitted to them for their review. Can you give an update on what actually happened?
Yes. Madam Chair. Yeah, I think from the report, it says we noted your observation on the assessment report and will gladly provide your team with the report. It's just a matter of providing the report now. It's just a matter of giving it. It's the Auditor General who should tell us whether the report was provided for, because it was there was a response that the report will be provided, and this report has been since April of 2021. So I think since April of 2021. So now it is up to the Auditor General to confirm whether it has been done, because the management response was...
Where is the evidence that the report has been?
No, it says we noted your observation on the assessment report and will gladly provide your team with the report. So it is up to the Auditor General now to update us as to whether the report was provided for.
Now, okay, very well. Now, very well, Honorable. Can you go to page 33? Auditor's comments. Up to the finalization of this report, the need assessment report has not been provided for our review. Am I right?
Yes, you are right. You are right. Maybe she's not following.
Can I say something?
She's not following.
Can I say something? Yes, please, Vice Chair. Please, yes, can we have one meeting, please? Can we have one meeting, please? We are not accountants, so at least...
Yes, there is this issue of important assessment. What the fundamental issue that this committee is concerned with, and that is of interest to us, is...
Sorry, I did not get you. Or use this one.
I was saying, yes, we are talking about reform. But what is of fundamental importance to this community is the assessment. Was it done or not done? Because materials were distributed on the basis of that assessment. That's what we are interested in. And the other day, a gentleman here said that the way they did the assessment was to use literature, statistics taken in 2019, and so on and so forth. We all know, I didn't want to raise it, but we all know that for me, that is not acceptable. I don't consider it to be an assessment. In those circumstances, there was a prevailing circumstance. We needed to assess how to deal with that. Those statistics were helpless as far as I'm concerned, because circumstances have changed several times. You cannot use literature in the book to assess whether or not you should send 1,000 bags of rice to URM, because several things have changed. What was needed was, I know you will tell me that because there was no time, but the method that was, if that is what the method was applied, that was the method applied. For me, there was no assessment.
Also, microphones are on. If they are on, they should be off.
They're trying to fix it. We can proceed.
Yes? That's what I was saying.
Yes,
The fundamental question is,
the fundamental question.
Yes.
was the assessment
Was a
done?
needs assessment done?
Yes.
Yes. Good
And how was
afternoon.
it done?
Was it done?
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the honorable members of the National Assembly, my colleagues, and also all the journalists team, the subject area specialist, the director of committees and the staff, the rest of the people that are around. We want to show you that the assessment was done as it was announced by PS Sedi at the time when he was permanent secretary, as you quoted, as quoted by the auditors. We've used a number of studies and projections were made. A lot of simulations were used to develop an assessment report. And this assessment report is available, and we can make it available for the auditors.
What is the response? You just take the response. They have responded. So let's move.
Sorry, I have a follow-up.
You have a follow-up?
Yes. Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. I have a follow-up question. Why, okay, actually, you couldn't give it to the auditors? Because if you look at his report, he tells you, for several times he is visiting your offices and they cannot access it until they finalize the audit report.
I think we mentioned that some of the challenges that we had, there was movement in the community. Some of us were moved to the, I was in trade, I was moved to the Ministry of Health. Mr. Sedi was financed as the permanent secretary, he was moved to separate. Bajaba was permanent secretary, Ministry of Agriculture, he was moved to Office of the President. Then this movement, has distorted some of those activities. We have to be ready. And then the coordination of response to the auditors became a challenge. But this report is clearly available and is here. We can hand it over to the auditors. Thank you.
I don't know what questions or further questions they may have. But what comes to my mind straight away is where records not kept, for whoever is there at the moment have access to those records to provide it to the auditors, irrespective of the fact that the holder at the time had been moved to another ministry into keep files. Madam Chair, that's my question. Honorable Guy, let them respond. And
Yes, no, we agree, but I think we also should understand the context. Because this was happening at the time of emergency. It was happening at the time of emergency. It was difficult for all of us. Then our engagement in those at that time, was very difficult for us to be running around. We are not saying that we should not have provided, but that was some of the challenges that we had. And the auditors could not have access to some of the staff that may have access to those records at the time. And this is why we asked for time, and we are able to visit into our files and provide all these documents that's supposed to be provided.
After the auditors had given enough time, anyway,
Let me follow.
Is it related?
Yeah. My only concern is that yes, people will move, but then again, positions still maintained, and then procurement still went on. So does that mean that you were not taking notes while those people, because I mean the process still continued?
That was why I asked whether records were not kept.
Please, can I
Ask
give
whether
the
records were
answer,
kept.
please?
Yes. Briefly, Governor,
Yes,
please, so
yes,
that we are moving on to the next.
I'll be very brief. This question was the last question that we had answered the day that we left here. And I said that the Auditor General sent this report to us, civil servants, to respond to the management letter. And we met at the Ministry of Trade. Most officials were not there. I was there. MD Tembele was there. CC, Accountant, Internal, Director General, Internal Audit was there.
Yes, sorry.
No, let me finish. I want to give you the answer.
You are telling us that you have told us this the last time.
Okay, let me give
So it's a repeat
let me
of
give
what happened.
let me give you the
No,
answer, please.
Then you will have to listen to the chair of the committee. You are just telling us now, Governor, that you have indicated to us that you have explained the reasons. It's already on our record.
No.
We have it. So we don't want to save time. Repeating what you've already told us, because it's already in our record. But what we want, a direct response. We can be provided. Now we let us move on.
Okay, the direct response is that when the auditor sent the report, most of the members of the team were not there. This question relates to the permanent secretary. I was the permanent secretary. When we met there, at that meeting, I told them that the report was available. Maybe the auditors did not talk to the right people because I had moved to the central bank. But what we agreed is that the report should be obtained from the Ministry of Finance and sent to the auditors. And when I followed with, is it Mr. Haidara? Because trade was the secretariat. I said, I'm telling you the answer. I said, did you send to the auditors? And the answer is yes. And then we realized now that it was not sent. So that is the answer.
Please proceed. Now this is exactly what you informed of the last time.
Yes.
As I said, it's already on our records.
Yes.
We have it. We will look at it, we will analyze it, and then we will come to the conclusion. It's already there. You've explained. This is the second explanation. It's a repetition of the same thing. That's what I'm trying to tell you. That's just what I am trying to say. So please, can we respect our procedures and we move? I will insist that we move on to the next. No, Honorable Mr. MD Social Security, I will insist that our honorable members move. Please, can we move to the next item? Honorable, please. Thank you. So let's get done with the needs assessment now.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. We're going to move on to 7.2, which is a non-compliance with GPPA regulations. The examination of payment vouchers and contract documents revealed that the contract committee awarded contracts using the single sourcing procurement method. A request for approval written to GPPA by NDMA with reference ABC dated 10th March 2020 was provided and reviewed. However, the approval from GPPA is yet to be provided. The list of the procurement is actually shown below, and there are a total of 8 amounting to 115,705,000. Now, the implication, I think, is very clear. Single sourcing without approval is a gross violation of the GPPA rules and regulations, and therefore the integrity of the committee could be compromised. The response from management was not available. Action to be taken, action already taken in accordance with the NDMA Act, and the officer responsible is the Executive Director NDMA. So we will want to know why this actually happened. Because the NDMA Act and the GPA are quite two fundamentally different acts. So we will need some explanation on this one. On what legal basis was this procurement done without the GPA approval?
Yes, yes.
Okay, thank you, Honorable Lord. As stated in the management resolution, the committee rely on the GPA Act. The committee rely on the NDMA Act.
The committee rely
On the NDMA Act 2008, Section 88A, Emergency Procurement Accounting Number 3 of 2006. Notwithstanding the provision. Can I read or is not necessary?
What's the year of the act?
2008 Act under Section 88A, Emergency Procurement and Accounting Number of 2006. That's the provision that the committee rely on, and this provision, empowered NDA to act. In the state of emergency, is declared by the president, and this is what the committee invoked.
The NDMA Act.
Without relying on the GPPA Act. Yes. Thank you.
And the NDMA Act is a 2008 piece of legislation.
Yes.
Is it?
Yes.
Whilst the GPPA Act is 2014.
Yeah.
No, I just want to be correct. Yes, please correct. Right.
Yeah, but I think it was stated our first meeting here that the GPPA Act does not have any provision for emergency. Does not have provisional emergency procurement when you come to emergency. Yes, and that was the reason why we have to use the NDMA Act that has that provision so that we can have a legal standing in our decision. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Honorable Bob and Honorable Rami.
Yeah, thank you, Honorable Chair. We've taken note of this particular section of the NDMA Act. But if you look at the NDMA themselves, they are funds, meaning they are funded. They can only have control over that, but not control over the central government funds. So this Act doesn't guarantee NDMA to make any provisions that the money actually is centralized somewhere outside their own office. So this Act is actually referring to their own funds, not the funds of other institutions or the funds that come from the central government that are like somewhere. So if these funds,
NDMA may have
yes,
something to say on that. Just allow them to finish.
yes. So if these funds were lodged with the NDMA, then we could have understand. But these funds were never in the hands of NDMA in the first place.
Thank you. Just hold it there. Mr. Honorable Rami,
yes.
Is it the same thing?
Yeah, it's just a follow-up question. Honorable Chair, it is my understanding that this money relates to the 15% that was put aside as contingency. And it's interesting to look at, going by the date, it seems this was spent well before the main this recent one is being made. So to me, it's not even a contingency. You have not spent the main money that is reserved in case of not exhausting this, so you went ahead and spent the contingency. Meaning putting the card before the Honorable Chair. Can maybe the Executive Secretary, I would want him to react to that. This was supposed to be 15% put aside in case that extra is needed after buying these emergency relief items. But going by the days that these procurements were made, they spend the contingency first before the other relief items.
Was it?
No, that's the same issue. Yeah, that's what I was.
NDMA.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker.
Actually, the data that we generated indicates that the contingency would be required. This was why, because rain was coming, this was why we went ahead and do the contingency as the goods were being delivered at Macax Square. That was the main reason. Because the data dictated that the contingency would definitely be required.
I think the ED is not getting what we are saying. We were told 15% of the total amount of the 754 million for use after the activity is done. These purchases were done when the items were not even at the Makati Square. So that's why we are saying, why do you have to spend when you have not done the activity?
Can I?
That one needs to be put. Yeah, can you put that one? It's off. Okay. Can you try now?
Use this one.
Yes. No, I stand by what I said. I said already we had the data, and it was based on the data that we did this 50% continue, because we know that it was going to be required. So there was no time, rain was coming, there was a focus. Before you wait till at the end of the exercise, we begin to procure so that we can equally distribute it along with other stock at Macax Square.
So you are saying in front of us, there was no time.
There was no time, that's what I am saying.
So you went ahead.
Yes, because of the focus. Because we are operating within the context of the emergency response.
Thank you very much. We've got that down.
Ma, I just don't want us to be going back and forth. We had agreed on a strategy, ask questions, let them respond, and then we take a decision on that. What I just want to say is that it highlights the doubt that there is in fact the needs assessment that they did. Because they are all, both these things, they are in fact relying on the same data. You are telling me the same data that told you this will be enough, put this aside. It's the same data that you relied on to say, I've realized that this is not going to be enough. That's contradictory. No. So we have let's not go back and forth. So let's move to the next and then
I thought that was for them, and they have responded, and we have taken note.
Yes, but his follow-up question. What is saying?
No, it wasn't a follow-up.
Okay. His comment. Right, his comment. The way he framed his comment is like he's wrapping the entire committee in this 15% say, and that was not the case.
But take a book. So say
have already been named. We will take it from there. Mark, can I just say that also the date on the report appears to be a wrong date. The report says the payment was done on the 10th of March 2020.
Which page?
On page 33 of 156. That middle paragraph says that a request for approval by NDMA with reference AVC 153/30301 part 203 dated 10th March. That is where the honorable members Brame and Uncle are relying on. But there must have been an error on the date, because by that time, no payments were effected. All the activities happened after that date. So I just thought that let me clarify that there is an error in that date.
We're taking note of that. Yeah, we're taking note of the dates.
Yeah. Yes, Yes, what I was going to say, that date is actually referring to the request. A letter of request was made to GPPA for approval. Yeah, they sent a letter to GPPA for approval, and they were waiting for the approval. But before they get that, well, at least from what we have here, there was no letter of, so that's what it was.
Let us take the response. Next question.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair.
It's
7.2. That is contract awarded without a GPP approval. I think you have the document. I need not to read all the all the text that the auditor have written. But then I wonder how can a contract be given to certain amount without the contract being approved by DPPA. Can you help us?
And you see the officer.
Yes, officer. Do I need to read the
management response?
Yes, but they have the text with them.
They have the text.
Yes, thank you, Honorable. I think what the committee did, this was part of the approval that was given. The approval, the DPP approval was given, and we had earlier made a decision at the committee level that in case any supplier is not able to supply, then the bigger ones, we could assign to any of the bigger businesses to supply immediately. Unfortunately, one of the big businesses, that is SMI, could not withdraw from the scheme because he applied, supplied the whole entire stock, and we said no. This is also going to be a stimulus for the economy. We want to make sure that many people, many businesses benefit from it. Then when he withdrew, then we had to give it to the next big supplier who could be able to respond immediately. That's what we did. But which means that we rely on the earlier approval of the GPPA. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Next.
Yes, if you look at page 35, the last item on the table, MK Stores Limited. Oh yeah, you've seen that. What the comment is, this procurement was not included in the approval list. So this particular one was not a case of, reassigning, but it looks like they were added and they were not part of the approved list.
No, we are using the same one. Let me explain this one, because this particular EMK store and also Lamin Gate, these two suppliers, the day we were doing the was it the allocation at the Ministry of Agriculture Conference Room, the stock at McCarthy Square was among the ones that was first approved, because the president wanted to read his statement to to the Gambian people that the government was going to provide this food aid. Before he could make that statement, they said they wanted the stock to be at Makati Square so that he can read it there for people to see what was coming. That stock that was at Makati Square, approval was given for that to be bought first. And then the women groups, when they heard about this purchase, some went to the Director General of EPPA, some went to the Executive Director of NDMA. So at our meeting there, when we said, who do we allocate this to? It was said that let's give it to a women group to supply because we want to give priority to the women. So it was the committee awarded to Ma Farmers Foundation Group. When they were given the contract, they were supposed to supply these goods by Friday. Everything was there, should be there, so that the president can read this statement on Saturday. Friday, it was not there. Up to 1 o'clock, this was Ramadan. I went and breakfast, came back. I was there, I met with the chief of Procurement. And he said, where is the stock? I said, myself, I'm disappointed. On Saturday, when we came to allocate to businesses, the bidders, the contract, we got a call from the vice president. She was at Makati Square and said, we are still here. Apparently, the women group you awarded the contract to could not supply all the oil and I think all the rice and sugar. So at that point, she said, let's talk to the Commissioner General of GRA because he deals with businesses. Maybe he'll know a businessman who can supply. So I got a call from the Commissioner General of GRA, and he said EMK could supply, and also Lamige could supply sugar. At that meeting, we said, okay, let's give the remaining stock that could not supply for the Makati Square for the president to give a speech to EMK store and Lamige. That's how they got included. Because at that point, we got information that the president had given a directive that Sunday, no matter what, he has to read his statement there. That's how this EMK came into the whole scene with Lamige to fill in that gap. It's not that like they were part of the bidders who were rejected also. They came in to emergently fill that at the time we were allocated. Because this was done prior to the committee now sitting to distribute the needed supply among those who bid. Remember at that time the bidding had closed, we opened the bid in front of the bidders and we went back the following day and then we were doing the allocation now. That's when this information came. And we said, okay, since these ones we are working with, they are yet to receive even notice of them winning the bid. So we gave it to these two because it was an emergency that had to be addressed.
I think we're clear on that.
Yeah, and they were paid the same price.
We move to the next one. Page 40. Huh? 36. 7.2. Yeah. 3. That's where we are going to 7.2.3. Yeah, this one was the award contract awarded before EPPA approval.
Yes, sir.
Exactly. The examination of the payment vouchers and the contract documents revealed that the committee and NDMA sent a request for approval to GPPA on April 27, 2020. Through a reference letter. For the procurement and transportation of COVID-19 food items, the committee entered into a contract with various suppliers to supply food items, and NDMA also entered into contract with various transporters to transport the food items to various regions for distribution points. However, it was noted that an approval was only granted by GPPA for procurement of activities on the 30th of June, which is 1 month after the contracts were executed, yes, as shown below.
Then you have a list of the...
Yes, then you have a list. And the response from management, they said, we note your recommendation and the committee would bring to your attention the below with bidder award on the 27th of April 2020 as part of GPPA approval list.
Go on with the auditors' comment, you see that?
The auditors' comment said, we are aware that the approval was granted by GPPA, but the above contracts were awarded earlier than the approval date. So effectively they say that the contracts were done before an approval came from GPPA.
So I think specifically the question should be where were contracts executed?
Exactly. Exactly, yeah.
The approval. And then we just get a response on that and proceed.
May I just ask, in the same line, maybe the GPPA would help. Is it not against the act to give post-approval? I think it is clearly stated. You cannot give an approval after the effect of a certain procurement.
Yes, that is. However, in this case, what happened was the government set up a multi-agency task force who would normally be involved in the approval process. So this one-stop shop staff members were actually in one room to review the processes to ensure that these ones are clear to be sent to GPPA approval. And with the agency, they will be allowed to be delivered and included in a list to be forwarded to GPPA for approval. The award happened before the GPPA approval, but the approval, the committee ensured that GPPA approval was given even after the award.
Okay. Okay.
Yes, I think just a quick statement. That was the reason why GPPA ND was coming with a compliance officer to make sure that all the processes are followed and preliminary approval is given before it was sent to GPPA, so that once they are in the process, and two, they ensure that the rules are followed. That's what exactly we did. Thank you.
Madam Chair, I'm particularly concerned about this appropriation because if you look about the amounts that were allocated, if you look at it, some of them on the same page, they're on page 36. On the 27th of April, for example, one particular company, Futa Enterprise, was awarded 74 million, whilst the others were awarded, the maximum the others were awarded was only 20 million. And this was done solely.
Are you reading from page 38?
36. From page 36. And would that not be biasness? Because you said that the reason you did not give it to the, is it 𝐚𝐧𝐝 was because he wanted the bulk. But this one, you've given a lot more on that stage 27, more than 50%, in fact more than 60%, 74, while the next highest is only 13, and it did not go through the normal process. So don't you think that this is abnormal?
Yes, Madam, you want to respond?
Yes, Madam Chair, I want to respond.
To that?
Yeah, I think she is true in terms of the figure that is quoted. But the story is, when we decided that we're going to spread it, we were also cognizant of the fact that these foods are needed urgently. Then we decided that 3 major businesses that apply, you cannot get more than 3 lots of each of the items. That was the maximum that we could give to a big businessman. Because all of these big businesses, they apply for the whole entire consignment. They want to supply all of it. Southern Mali, Fuda, and the other one, 3 of them, they want to supply the whole entire stock. We said no. Then we decided that maximum that could be allowed is 3 lots for each of them. And each of them were given 3 lots, including Fuda. Then it was Fuda that was able to supply all its 3 lots. Some of Southern Mali withdrew. The other one also did not supply all its 3 lots. Then all of them were given 3 lots. 3 businesses, 10 businesses were given 3 lots. And this is for the reason. The reason is that so that we can be able to respond quickly, because we know that the small businesses have to go and buy it from them. And that was the safeguard. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Honorable members, I don't know whether my observation is valid at this point in time. I'm not saying it has nothing to do with the audit report, but I just want to be clear on the role of the GPPA in these committees. You see, for us, GPPA is an oversight institution. You cannot be a judge in your own cause. No, Governor, that is why I said I need to be educated on this. Because once GPPA has a representative in that committee, he's bound by any decision taken because it's his responsibility. I mean, I'm just viewing the GPPA with the Office of the Auditor General. The Auditor General cannot sit in any of those committees. Likewise, why was it necessary for the GPPA to be part and parcel of any of those committees, knowing that at the end of the day, those committees will have to go to GPPA to seek approval? I'm not very clear on that. No, Mr.
No, I just want to add something to that. Because I just didn't want to prolong the debate. But the mayor thought that GBP, they said the director was there as a compliance officer. And then they would advise us to the process. And it will take them more than they want to approve. If you are part of the committee, you have guided the process. Why can't you give the approval there or a few days after that? Why does it take you that long to give approval? I wonder the essence of GBPA being in those
GBPA?
Yes. Actually, I was in there when this was happening, but I think I can speak for them. I can speak for them. As an individual, so somehow.
Let's try to
GPPA can be part of committee, but anybody who is an observer, you were there as an observer. Most of the time to make sure the payments are done and they to guide them. Because procurement is very low in this country. If you want to make things for you to things to be done the way it should be, one program can take you in. So you can be a member but as an observer. I, as in the capacity as director, any committee I sit on as an observer. But whether I'm there or not, it has to go through a procedure. This particular committee, like they say, government is a one-stop shop, having all the relevant stakeholders within one room. Because it's an emergency, it's an abnormal situation. You have to address it at that level. And the checks and balances we are present because the Director General is accompanied by a technician, a compliance officer, who will do bulk of the work that he would have done at GBPA on this, guiding them. And the Director General is also there to check what he does. So it checks and balances. So with this particular COVID-19 situation, I think the committee did an excellent job. Because I share knowledge with my colleagues in the African public procurement groups. They are very really impressed with how they are handling their procurement, the efficiency that they did. So, to answer your question, yes, I am saying we can have any committee as an observer to educate people, because we train people will pay whether they use up as trainers or to guide them. But this particular one is a personal case, and this is the best formula you can do to things are addressed. And approval can be, what you say is very true. You usually approve you cannot do something and allow us to approve it after you've already done it. But this particular one is implicit, that's why they are so implicitly approved. Because if all the checks and balances are observed on the spot, the things contractors have done due diligence with the officers. The director was with the executive who are going to review and approve it. So basically, it's 75% of the give a project is being done and dusted. But notwithstanding, we still need to submit to us what you want the last thing, to go through the last steps to make sure that the missing posts are filled. So it's more than formally as far as this particular committee is concerned. Thank you.
Thank you, yes, Vice.
I'm surprised that you are saying that you can be an observer. That's a big surprise to me. You are supposed to scrutinize and approve, and yet you are there observing. You are already in your scrutiny, but I think I think, you are, for me, I don't agree with what you are saying. You are using this situation, emergency situation, to do things which don't tally with the law. For example, you are saying that the president was going to make a speech, therefore the rights have to. That has nothing to do, his speech has nothing to do with the rights being at Makati, because those who are going to beneficiaries are not here, they will never see it. The statement could be made without rights. But because the statement was going to be made, we are forced to do something which went against the law. And again, he said, because of the emergency state, it was possible for him. It's like you telling me that I can go and sit in the Ministry of Finance office when they are doing their things and I'm advising them. And then I alone will come again in Parliament and scrutinize the estimates that they are going to present to Parliament. How sensible is that? To me, this doesn't, it is not correct. And it cannot be correct. You are not supposed to be in any committee, nor your representative. Because you are the reference point. You are going to give authority for that to happen. So why do you have to be here? Yeah. And that's why it was said among you here the other day that because you were there was no need for approval because your presence was an approval. You said that here. No, I'm not saying you, but somebody said it among you here. So this is quite indicative of the fact that some of the things that you are saying are not correct. Honestly, they are against your act, they are against the Constitution, they are against any law that you can imagine as far as this country is concerned. Emergency does not warrant you to go against law to do things that are not correct.
These are observations.
Yes.
Yes, honorable.
Thank you. Madam Chair, thank you very much. I think I would disagree with when you said that you were there as an observer. Because as it was stated clearly, it was a special committee. And the reason GPPA was there so that they can guide and approve so that the process can be faster and the process for it to proceed, for the procedure to move on quicker. Because as we all understood, we were in a state of emergency. And in a state of emergency, normal laws would be overcome by laws that were made for the emergency. Because if proper procedure was taken, some people would have died. And I think we should understand and appreciate that. That's why I said I disagree when you said that you were there as an observer, because your director stated that they were there, people that were decision makers were there in that committee to be able to take decisions there and then. So I think what we need to do now is to ascertain through the report of the Auditor General whether what was approved was properly bought, was properly disbursed, and was properly distributed. That is why we are here. But to ascertain who and who don't, because it was a special committee, and you had the right to approve or to disapprove. But was it done properly? Was the distribution run properly? Where the awards where the contract that was approved done properly? That is what we are saying now. Because it says here the procurement was not included in the list. Procurement for EMK stores. That is what you approved something, yet went ahead and did something else. That is the matter that we are discussing here. And why that was done, I think some of you have answered. Proceed.
Madam Chair, I would have thought that the presence of the GPPA at any committee would have expedited the process of the sense that once they approve there and then, within 24 hours, they can give the official approval, and then the provisions of the Act would have been complied with. But it wasn't done until maybe 6 months after, and then the document, the report was given to them 2 months after that. Nothing was done. But I think we have established the point. So let's move on. Thank you.
I just want to clarify because I think I'm misunderstanding that. My question, I answered to I say one, generally GP can be part of any committee as an observer. But two, this special committee was a special one. This one is already as an observer. That's why you go with technician. Other committee you go as a member of the committee as an observer. But this particular COVID-19, the DG goes with a focal compliance officer who will do the work on the spot. So what we are saying is that's what we've been doing with this particular committee. But other committees, under the COVID, no emergency, no more situation. Now, there's a general person who has to clarify. Because our role is also to claim, because we have to claim people of procurement. But we are going to towards EGP, so I also know about procurement. That's why we take an opportunity to share what we know.
I think we understand that.
Thank you very much. So we are doing the same.
You have misunderstood us, but that is for us to decide. Can we move this? Thank you. That's 7.24.
Yeah, 7.24. Okay, good afternoon.
On page 37.
On page 37.
37.
Yeah. Now my question here goes this. Now, by suppliers were not registered with the registrar of companies giving government contracts. Like if you go by the findings of the national audit, they said during the audit, we noted that payments amounting to 98,300,000 were made to suppliers, but we could not ascertain whether these suppliers were registered with GPPA, as no evidence of business registrations and certificates from GPPA were provided for our review. Details are shown below, something like that. So now the question goes, why? Why suppliers who are not registered with the registrar of companies giving government contracts?
Let's read out the management response on page 38.
Yeah, on page 38, the response from the management stated that we note your observation. Futa was identified as one of 3 major suppliers and importer of basic commodity in the country. However, the Futa registration may have an oversight. However, all the list awards were sent for approval. The committee of proceed. Permit the committee to proceed as per the GPPA approved list, and then see a type of global industries registration. An action notice to be taken. Officer responsible for remedial action, chairperson and director general of GPPA.
Come, go ahead. Finish it, the auditor's comment.
And then, okay, the auditor's comment here says, the audit that the GPPA registration certificate of global industries claimed to be attached is not seen in the response. The only certificate seen in the response is the business registration certificate for global industries. Every supplier should register with GPPA to benefit from the government contracts, including major suppliers or importers. That's it.
Well, let's allow them to respond to the questions and then we'll take it from there.
Yeah, I think, Madam Chair, we believe that there is an error.
There's an error.
Yes, global supply, the one that you make the mentioning, he said they are not
Error
registered.
where? In the audit report?
No, if you look at what he read in the audit report, it seems they have not been provided. And you said what has been provided, I think, for the same company. I think that's an error. I think
No,
here.
let us get it
But
clear.
the
I think
auditor's
it's
comment.
reading from the report.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Reading from the report, the auditor's comment.
The auditor's comment.
Yes, you can see that there is an error.
The error cannot come from him.
No, the auditor's
If there
report,
is-
the auditor's report, the auditor's comment.
The audit report.
The auditor's comment itself. Yes.
May I just help you?
Yes, can you?
There is no error.
Yes.
There are two documents here. The business registration certificate and the GPPA registration are two different documents. What the others are claiming is the GPPA registration, which they have claimed to have attached, which they are saying is not attached. There is no error.
Okay, because the company.
Even there, it is talking of global industries and not food.
Yeah,
Yeah, because what we have is FUTA. Global industry, I don't know where they get it. Because FUTA. Yeah, because FUTA, we presume that they are referring to FUTA in this case. Okay.
Madam Chair, can I please help?
Can you?
Okay, sorry, Madam Chair. Yeah, I think probably the time that this was during the audit exercise, it must have been an omission. But all of them have been registered and they are available.
No, can I please let me explain?
Yes, Governor.
I think what he's trying to say, both businesses mentioned here were registered with GPPA. FUTA's GPPA registration is available 2020. Global Industries Finance and Asset Management registration is available 2019. Probably the mistake made when they submitted, the person who accepted this thought this is 2020, but both were submitted. FUTA's 2020 is here, that's what the committee worked on, and the GPPA registration for global industries is available, but that one is 2019. So probably this one was an oversight, but this one is authentic, is 2020. So this, the queries here, the evidences are available. And what the committee did, we have a file with the Deputy Accountant General where all these missing documents have been put in to help the committee, and we will submit that at the end of these.
I think the committee's, one of the committee's main concern is that why were these not made available to the auditors or the auditors?
That's what I said, that it's negligence on the side of some government officials, because at the highest, at the senior level, instructions were given when those who did not appear. At the secretariat.
Yes.
Sorry, can we please, can we have one meeting?
Can I finish? When we met, those who were not there.
Mr. Accountant General, please, can we have one meeting, Honorable, please? Sorry.
Please, please address the chair and allow when she interjects, please keep silence. It's procedurally wrong to interject when the chair is on the floor. And please take permission from the chair.
For me, what I would say, Madam Chair, we have to apologize to this committee, because when the auditors sent the document, like I said, we met, but not everybody was there. And those who met, we agreed that there should be a follow-up to those offices that have records of this to submit to the auditor. And we thought they were submitted. Most of us, when we left there, when we met on our own, we said we were surprised. We thought these things were there. But they are available. It was just, let's say, inaction or poor coordination, but they are available. And it was very easy for us to produce this. When the Deputy Accountant General sat with us, at one location, one folder, everything was provided, including these things. So that answers it.
The committee had enough time.
But that's what I was saying. We did, those who could have given order to say the instruction we gave, did you carry it out? When me personally, I can confirm for you, when I follow up and ask people, they said yes, we submitted. I will not lie here.
Eventually, we will go to the extent of asking for names.
And now,
people have to be named.
And now that they are not submitted, I mean, at the last minute, we have to take the responsibility.
Extra auditing, or follow-up auditing involves costs.
But,
Yes, am I right?
Madam Chair, let me explain. When we were doing these procurements, we all want to make sure it is thoroughly done with speed. It was an emergency for food and medical items to be delivered. And can I say something?
Yeah.
And we did our best.
Like everybody else.
But yes, I know, you know, but now when the auditing happened, all these things here could have been avoided. I agree with you. They could have been avoided when it was sent. But like they said, people have been moved. And people who could have forced people to say, do this, do this, do this, that force was not available. That's the reality. They moved to other areas.
But Governor, there were still permanent secretaries.
I understand.
There were still deputy permanent secretaries.
Yes.
And then
I agree.
I have my file, we all have, we're coming, Mr. Jallo. Mr. Jallo, yes. We all have in our files copies of a letter sent by the National Audit Office dated the 15th of April 2020 relating to important governance matters to consider. It was sent to PS Finance, it was sent to PS Health. That, drawing the attention of officials to certain important governance matters that need to be taken into consideration and adhered to. So it would appear that at the end of it, when the report was finalized, these concerns were not addressed or they were not taken into consideration. We will have a look at it and we all have the answer of it. They have. Yes, Honorable Mo.
Yes, I just wanted to confirm from this covering committee. Normally at the end of any audit exercise, normally they have an exit meeting. So I would like to confirm from them whether an exit meeting was done with the auditors, where things that actually, there is that actually was flashed out before they actually left. So can they confirm if there was an exit meeting with the committee or not?
For me, I can honestly say that I did not attend any exit meeting. I did not get any request for an exit meeting or information that the auditing has ended and I am invited to an exit meeting. And my colleague just also told me he is not aware. But when the management letter was sent, they called us. But the exit meeting, I have no information about it. And my colleague also confirmed that.
Mr. Carroll, you want to say something?
Okay, yes. Thank you very much, Speaker. I just wanted to point out that, in fact, according to management response from the minister at that time, when the auditors submitted the first report, it was submitted to the Minister of Trade when I was the permanent secretary at that particular point in time. Just like the governor said, it was very difficult for the permanent secretary at that time to bring in all the players. But whatever was under the purview of the Ministry of Trade. It was provided, and according to our own management response that time, we said that the GPPE registration and the business registration were all provided. And to confirm that, we told them that if any of those documents were missing, the Treasury, Attorney General's Department would never have paid anything, because no payment can be processed without those documents. And we, as I don't know how the auditors were able to miss this thing, but then it was there, and we still affirm that it was provided. It's because they were all in the file. That was number one. Number two, just like he mentioned, yes, there were no exit meeting, and in fact, this final report was never, I don't think, was ever shared with the committee as a whole. So basically, those are some of the things that I think the auditors are here. I will not be saying anything that they can confirm or they can if they want. But that was the case.
Yes, but before I get Auditor General, I want to say something.
Yes, thank you.
Doctor, I have seen you. Going to say something? Yes. Sorry.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Good afternoon to everyone once again. I was just saying that it looks like a general question was asked whether there was any exit meeting. I just wanted to say on the side of the health one, we had an exit meeting. But I must say that it was at a time when people were not even allowed to come to office and all that. So it was done on Zoom, whilst our house was on fire. We were trying to put that down, and auditors, journalists, everybody following. So I attended the exit meeting. I think I myself am PS alone, because there was nobody, no time. People were a team, and we were distributing, doing a lot of things. So in health, we had one, but it was not a very good one, because all the points we raised, for example, the auditors, we couldn't agree on most of the things. Thank you.
I think, so let's allow the GPPA, I think you've had enough chance. AG, there was an issue raised by Mr. Jallo, and I think...
Yeah, I think, let me say that there was an exit meeting with all parties. Essentially, I think we cannot go to every committee member and say this meeting. We have focal offices, Ministry of Trade, Health, and NDME. And we have had executive meetings with all of these people. I think I said here that these audits took a very long time. In fact, Trade, once they submitted a response we have to return, because it was almost empty. We had to ask for, make them to actually write, because they are the focal office, referring us to other committees who will not solve it. So we said, go to the committees and get the information and put it in there. These responses took more than 2 months to complete. When we completed in April, it was finalized, and the copies, report said, with all these comments that you have here, to them, in May, first week of May. I think we did not present this report to the National Assembly until November. Of course, the reasons for that is official, and we had to manage the report itself, considering the time that we were in. But we have had good meetings with them. We don't conclude our audits behind the backs of people. We have thought that long time ago. Yes, it's never so. I think it's going to be very unfair to suggest the idea that audit concludes without exit meeting. Exit meetings have been held across all various parties involved, and that is going to be a mischaracterization.
Thank you very much. Doctor, just in response to your statement, you see, I think we all understand that it was an emergency, and we told you our house was on fire or about to catch fire. We knew we were all working under an emergency. We all appreciate, and we still appreciate. But the more reason why we should have given this letter the importance that it required, especially at the time. I mean, look at it, if I may just read at random. The pandemic calls for extraordinary measures and a government-wide approach to safeguard lives as right sanction as some program ideas may sound very fine and fanciful, but their implementation may be practical. Fraud, waste, abuse, or mismanagement of funds erodes the public trust in the government and reduces the support that individuals and businesses might need. I mean, these were warnings that probably we should have all adhered to. I just bring it to your attention to know that we are all cognizant of the fact that we might need so that next time we will not have to revert our minds or avert our minds to that. Please can we proceed, honorable members? Thank you. We are 2-6.
It is 2-6.
What is the unpresented? 2-5.
Yes. Out of contract to ineligible suppliers.
Ma'am,
Ineligible suppliers.
may I just ask a question? I just want to summarize it. What this finding is saying, you will have
Can you refer me to the page?
page 39.
Can we go to page 39?
Yes, the finding is 7.2.5, award of contract to ineligible suppliers. What the finding is, it means when they were doing their procurement, for example, one supplier will register for services and you are giving a contract for goods and vice versa. Meaning what you applied and you are registered for supply, you are not giving that, you are giving something else, which in fact should not have happened. And I think they said, on their response, they said your observation was well noted. Reference to the advertisement, I think that would be wrong. The said procurement is clearly stated that the process is to support Gambia SMEs and women in general. However, the registration categories were not as a part of this qualification criteria. In this emergency procurement. Can you just react to that? They are just trying to justify flouting the rules.
Yeah, Mr. Jallo, you want to say something on that?
Yes, ma'am.
On what?
On that very page 39. Basically, in the previous one they just concluded with, they are claiming that they didn't see the business registration for the GBP of food and all that. But now they are putting those very business registration and saying that they are registered as on the services. So that's where that means that there is a mismanagement. I don't know, maybe we don't understand, but then that's what this implies here.
Ma, may I help him, sorry? This you can know.
Yeah?
This you can know. For example, when the governor was providing the documents, you read every year you are required to register. This year I may register for goods. Tomorrow, next year, I adjust it to require goods and services. The next year I fail to register because I'm not interested in doing business with government. So the auditor's point previously stands unless evidence is provided. What they are claiming is in 2020, when they were giving that contract, they have not provided this GBP registration for that. And I think it stands and it's different from this.
No, we've heard you, Mr. Jallo, even though you appear to disagree with us. We have heard you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Madam Chair. I think the management response that was provided, what we were concerned was how do we stimulate the economy at the time. You know, when businesses were going down, you know, demand for goods and services, you know, was going down, you know, we are almost moving toward recession. Then we said it would not make sense, you know, we spent almost $1 billion and not to stimulate not to do it in a way that will stimulate the business sector. And that was the reason why we said the SMEs are a priority, especially the SMEs that are owned by women. Then registration was not a criteria that we used. And that was the reason why we were not focusing on that. Our focus was more on ability to respond to the supply. As long as you can deliver on time, and also you provide a reasonable price that was capped, that was the concern of the committee. Thank you.
I don't want to be seen to be against women. The comment that I'm going to make would probably tend to lean on the fact that I may not necessarily support women entrepreneurs, which is quite the opposite. I support them 110%. In fact, when we were reviewing the GPPA bill, we invited a group of women and they appreciated it. To the extent that they even extended appreciation for being given an opportunity to take part in this exercise here. And that they were trying to show us that once they come together, they can do a lot of things. But really, there are certain things that we will have to discuss internally as a committee, when it comes to that. Honorable Bob and Majority Leader.
Yes.
No, we'll come to you because we need to take a short break and come back after
Yes.
2 hours.
Yes, Madam Chair. I just want to confirm from the committee, because there are different fees that are charged by GPPA for services, or you are registered for goods and services, etc., etc. Now, did they ask them to regularize? Because you register for services and you are supplying goods now. Have they gone back to regularize their status? Because if not, which means GPPA actually was losing, because they need to register for goods and services, and the payment is different.
Yeah.
So if they have, so I wanted to confirm whether they have asked them to go back to GPPA to regularize that, to ensure that the income that GPPA needs to have, actually they did in fact have that income.
Yes, GPPA, and on the question.
Thank you very much. I apologize for speaking many times here. But in fact, it is my area, so I have to clarify the air. Section 24 of the G for 2014 Act, eligibility criteria. In one of the conditions that you can waive registration as a condition is emergency. So the committee is very right to enjoy my registration and then go on ahead to award to the women. So I think that that's to raise this case actually. Thank you.
What exactly are they waiving? Are they waiving the registration itself, or are they waiving? Because what I'm referring to, the registration is incomplete because they register for goods and services and they pay a particular fee. But in this scenario, they only register for services only. What I'm asking is whether you've told them to regularize that, to ensure that GPPA gets the income that they're supposed to get from that registration, not actually waiving using that section 24.
Thank you very much. Like I said, I wasn't at the time, I wouldn't know that, but I'm telling you, eligibility criteria, you can't award a contract to a supplier without registering GPP. But there are exceptions. One of the exceptions is emergency. During emergency situation, you can choose to waive the registration in totality. So the committee was very right not to focus on registration as a criteria.
No, I don't think that's correct. I don't think, because
but it's the law.
No. It's GPPA Act. It doesn't have any clause that actually deals with emergency procurement. It doesn't have it.
Well, let me read that to you.
Okay, you go ahead and read that.
Yeah, it's my area. Yeah.
I'm your question.
Section 24 2, Section 24. Section 24.1. In order to be awarded a procurement contract, suppliers shall be registered with the authority in accordance with the provisions made under this Act. So Section 2. Notwithstanding Section 1, a procurement contract may be awarded to a supplier who or which is not registered with you under the following conditions. A. Where only one supplier has the technical capacity, capability or capacity to fulfill the procurement requirement or the exclusive right to manufacture the goods
carry out the works or perform the service to be procured and no suitable link exists. B. Where there is an emergency need for the good, works, consulting service or service involving an imminent threat to the physical safety of the population, of the damage of property, or in the case of unforeseen or urgent circumstances, not due to the deliberate conduct of the organization, and engage in tendering, proceeding, or other procurement methods would therefore be impractical. So, by part of this class, all this you are talking about is, I don't think it's, they are good to go.
Let me tell you, we also have yes, Mr. Honorable Draman, please.
May I just say that I am not a lawyer, but I've learned during these 5 years. It's dangerous when you read the sections apart.
And leave the
Yes. It emanates from two. Notwithstanding subsection 1, a procurement contract may be awarded to a supplier. May be awarded to a supplier who or which is not registered. It's not talking after being registered for a certain service. It's saying, for example, now I want to buy, let's say, what is it called? Doctor, help me. The one that you use, ventilators, yes. And the only supplier here in the country is not registered. You don't have to wait for that registration. Exactly. But if that supplier is not saying that, if the supplier is saying I can provide you sand, you go and give him ventilators. Exactly. That's not what this section is saying. Yes.
In fact, Chair, in fact, they've already written to us, GPPA. They've already written to us on the new GPPA Act that we have, the bill that we have, that we need to clearly take a look at the emergency procedure. So that means it action. So what it's actually saying is fine. Like budget oxygen is also another example. That supplies oxygen to the hospital, and we don't have any order that I know. So in that kind of situation, yes, they can go ahead and do that without actually being registered. So that's when it applies. But in a particular situation, it doesn't actually apply.
I think we've taken enough information on that.
So they are not.
Yes, let me proceed to the next.
Still, we are going to have a play for you.
Always. Yes, I think this is a convenient point of the break. It's 5 o'clock, so we come back at 5:30. Let's have a short break and a cup of coffee. We adjourn.
What can they do? Why do they think so?
Yeah, this is the auditor report on the COVID fund. As you can see, the National Assembly, that's the Public Finance Committee, is scrutinizing, and all the ministries that are involved in the purchase during the COVID-19 are here with their permanent secretaries, and their accountants to hear the side of the Auditor General in regards to some malpractice and some of procurement that doesn't follow the GPPA rules and regulations, and some missing funds that they have come across during their auditing. So we are going for a break, and we'll be back soon to continue the session. It is a very interesting one, and it's important for the Gambian people to know where their money is going. So it will be interesting for all of us to take part in this, either direct or indirect. I'll be here for you to give you whatever is happening in your parliament, and I think you should be there for yourself to know and hold your government official accountable to the people. Thank you. Bye from me. Until after 5:30, I'll be back live.